So this is the third part of our bond discussion. And so let's go through our questions. What is a CUSIP number? CUSIP is short for Committee on Uniform Security Identification Procedures. And I'll just show it to you on TD Ameritrade. I just did a simple search on TD Ameritrade, and you'll find that every bond will have a CUSIP number. Now, this is very much like a symbol, if you will, for a stock. Um, I mean, so think of it like when a company issues a stock, it's assigned a symbol number, but a company issues, um, limited types of equity issues. So for Apple, for instance, there's AAPL, and then that's it. However, when it comes to bonds, each issue is different. Even though it may be issued by the same issuer, each bond issue is different. They may have different indentures. They may have different issue dates, underwriting banks. They may have different maturities, different yields, different coupons, different indentures. Anything and everything can be different about a bond other than the issuer. So how do we actually define a specific bond issue for a company or for any other issuer? And the CUSIP number is just that. It basically is an identification code for a specific issue, and this identification number, you can use it across any brokerage company and trade bonds. Keep in mind that there is no specific bond market. So when you're buying or trading your bonds, you're trading it with a brokerage company that you have an account with, and they're either matching you with their internal customers or from their own inventory, or through the whoever is the sell side on the bond, they will be basically trading it with you. So that's what a CUSIP number is. So what is a bond or a credit rating? Now, and how is it different than analyzing a stock? So how do we do the credit rating? So perhaps we should answer these three together. So there are three companies who actually, or three major companies who actually do credit rating, bond rating. So the first one is the Moody's, Standard and Poor's, and Fitch. So what they do is they provide you with a list of risks, obviously, that you're facing by investing in a specific issue. So you should know that while the companies or countries or the issuers can have a credit rating, like for instance, for the United States, credit rating is AA. For certain other countries, it's AAA, and so on and so forth. Generally, you actually have a credit rating for a specific issue. It is quite possible for a company to have a junk rating, for instance. However, the issue from that company may have a AAA rating if it is collateralized, for instance, or if there is some sort of securitization for the bond. Now, most of the time, the rating where you see right here, for instance, refers to the default risk. What is the likelihood that this issue may default? Now, obviously, if a company defaults on one issue, the company is at default, and therefore the bankruptcy proceedings will probably take place for the company. Default is not a simple matter. However, what you're concerned about is your money and your issue. So while certain companies may have different ratings, the issue from that company may have a better or worse rating. Seniority will have an impact on this. Collateralization will have an impact on this. Specific indentures will have an impact on this. So what the review company or rating agency will do is they are going to provide investors with what they think the default rating for a specific issue is. Now, this is very much like a credit score for an individual. And it is quite possible to get a list of all their outstanding debts. And therefore, you could actually do this yourself when you are investing into a specific bond. So, for instance, when you look at Argentinian debt, and they seem to be considered a junk rating, and they are paying about 16%. That's significant. That's really, really high. And a lot of people consider them to be a significant default risk, and therefore the junk rating. You may consider it to be safe, and you may want to invest some of your money. So just because a rating agency provides you with a bad rating does not mean that the risk is, really, really severe. You should have your own analysis as well. So the rating agencies give you certain guidelines, and if they are saying it's junk, you should really be careful. However, you also have the obviously the choice to invest in anything that you like. Now, there have been cases where the rating agencies were wrong. They have given companies good ratings, and the companies filed for bankruptcy and went for default. Most of the time, credit rating agencies will claim freedom of speech, and that they are not providing you financial advice, that they are providing credit rating, and that's primarily an opinion, and they are free to make express any opinion that they have. So there have been cases in the past that people tried to get their money because they lost on bonds that have received AAA ratings or AA ratings, and they have lost money. And as far as I know, most of these people lost. So be careful when you are paying a significant attention to the credit rating agencies' ratings. Credit rating agencies may be paid by the very company that they are providing a rating for. They may be affiliated with the sell side, meaning they may be affiliated with the underwriting company. And they may also be affiliated with the syndication of issuers in this case, and therefore they may be biased. It also could be that they are biased towards competing risk, and therefore they may be negatively biased towards specific issues. However, this is what a bond credit rating is. Each company, like Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's, they have their own scales. Goes from C to an A, and they have different scale items. And their rating is usually done based on default risk. And a lot of the times they will also include liquidity risk and market risk and any indentures. But they are mainly concerned about default risk and the company's ability to pay. So how is it different than analyzing a stock? With a stock analysis, you're looking at performance, whether the company is going to do well or do bad, if they're going to come up with new products, if their earnings per share is going to go up, if they are going to have more revenue, if they're going to have more income, and so on and so forth. But it's a performance analysis. Now, with a bond rating or a credit rating, the evaluation is more of, are they able to, or are they going to be able to pay the face value at the promised date, meaning are they going to default? So while a company may perform really, really bad stock-wise, and the stock price may be plunging, they may have enough money to pay for the bonds that they have issued. Their bonds may be collateralized, and therefore they may actually have pretty good bond rating, while their stock might have a very negative outlook. Just because a stock has a significant outlook, it doesn't also mean that they're a good credit risk. So, for instance, I am a Tesla perma-bear, and while everybody's really, really bullish on the Tesla stock, be that as it may, in my opinion, their credit rating is significantly negative outlook compared to the stock analysis. I have no investments in Tesla right now, none whatsoever. Therefore, and that's my disclaimer. So while a stock analysis may be quite positive or negative, credit rating is not related to performance per se. It is more about credibility, more about ability to pay, and more about the specifics of the bond, in which, for instance, collateralization and securitization, and so on and so forth. So that concludes our third discussion.